There's a
Okay.
brown girl in Beijing. Cha la la
Tra
la.
la 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 la. Brown girl in Beijing. Tra la 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 la. Brown girl in Beijing. Tra la 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 la. And she looks like the sugar in a plum, plum, plum.
Y'all mind? Who mind? Say mind. We singing. It's a whole choir up in here.
Yeah, you all want me. I'm gonna be the wrong one. That's hilarious.
So welcome, welcome, welcome. Rodney, want to do the welcome this time?
Yes, so welcome all to tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are excited. We are ecstatic to have you here. We have a very, very special guest on the platform. And for those who following, this is R and Love podcast. If you don't know, I'm the Rodney of the R and Love. She is Nadia of the R and Love. And we are just a couple talking about things. A couple talking about.
Sorry, clicked on thing.
We are a couple talking about anything random, whether it be family, whether it be Southern African community, but more importantly, we get a chance to talk to our friends. And one of our lovely, lovely, lovely friends who has been a friend for, geez, we've going on 15 years now, Shannon. That's we are
Good.
going on 15 years.
Yeah. Shannon read the scripture at our wedding. Like that's a long listen.
So let's formally introduce, welcome everybody to the R and Law Podcast, Dr. Shannon Evans. So round of applause. All claps, everybody. So before Shannon gets a little spiel, let me let you know who Shannon is. So say not this one. Say she read the scripture to our wedding, but she is a friend from COB. How I met Shannon. Shannon and I were education majors in COB, and literally I think from the first day of orientation, we had so
Yes.
happy to sit next to each other, and our spirit just we was talking. It was cool from then, and what really made us even cooler is the fact that people swore up and down, like up and down. So we were brother and sister, like swore.
Yes.
Because our mannerisms were similar, we acted similar, and all of this stuff. So much so I think amongst us are gonna be sideways to look at who this fella is.
My Grammy.
Yeah,
My Grammy, when she saw you smile, she was like,
What's going on? Talking to talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Shannon's been a long time friend. We love Shannon very dearly. Shannon has traveled already. Eric talked about her story. Let's do some background. So we saw it fitting for our R&Law podcast, for our first guest on the podcast, to be someone who is a near dear friend of both Nadia and myself, and very important to us,
Very much so.
Shannon Evans. So that's Shannon, boss.
And before we let her get started, let's say hi to everybody who's logged in. So we see Estelle Evans is in the house. She's the first one in the comments. Okay. So hello, brown girl in Beijing.
oh,
Ashley,
bless the Lord.
Hi, guys. Hi, Ashley. And we have Deniska Moss. Hi, Deniska. Okay, so Shannon, take it away. Tell us
Wow.
brown girl in Beijing. What does that even mean? What's going on? Where are you?
Yeah, who is Shannon?
Yeah.
Before you get into Beijing, but let everybody know who's Shannon.
This is okay, so hello everyone. My name is Dr. Shannon Evans. I obtained my PhD in December of last year. So it has been definitely a whirlwind since then. But I am a native of Freeport, Grand Bahama, the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Went to school in Freeport and in Nassau. Like Rodney said, I went to COB in 2005. First day of orientation is where we met. I've worked as a teacher, worked as a counselor, went off to school in Virginia to get my school counseling master's degree, worked as a counselor for a bit. So I've always worked with like children, adolescents, teens. Also worked in marketing for Bethel's Superstore in Freeport, Grand Bahama. So if you're there and you need supplies for anything, go. Shameless plug. And then it was in 2017 where I said, I want to do something else. I need change of pace. I lived in Virginia in the United States for 6 years. So from 2010 to 2016, then I went home. And I was like, I need to do something else. I'm this like restless soul. Like my mother Hi, mommy. Mommy, he told me one day, like we were sitting at the dining room table, I think.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and she's like, "You're almost 30. You're too old to be this restless." I mean, maybe, or, maybe not.
Right.
But I needed to find something else. So two of my friends, so shout out to Shania in the US and shout out to Christian in the Bahamas. They both worked for Disney English in Shanghai, also in China. And just like through random conversations, I knew Shania was working for Disney English. Just through random conversations, found out that Christian was working there. Also, they were both in Shanghai. So of course, I do what people do to me when I say I'm from the Bahamas. Like, oh, do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
It's just like, of all the 300,000 people that, yeah, definitely do. So when I put two and two together, I'm like, Shania is in Shanghai, Christian is in Shanghai. Guys, do you know each other? No, we don't. But one day, because if, like we have different centers throughout the cities. And so let's say in Beijing alone, we had, I think maybe 6 centers throughout the city. And if, let's say I call out, for whatever reason, if there's nobody at my center to provide coverage, they'll reach out to other centers, which is what they did in Shanghai. And so there was a time when I think it was Christian that covered Shania's class.
There you go. So
I think it was that way. They didn't. They still hadn't met.
No. They know the name.
So at one point he was like, I think I covered her class. And I'm like, okay, we're getting closer.
Yeah.
Great. And then maybe at a regional event or something, they finally met and they took a picture and sent it to me. I'm like, oh, my heart is so happy. Aww. These are two parts of my world. Because Christian, I went to school with. So I went to QC with. And then Shania, I went to Hampton University with. Okay. So these were two parts of my world that were meeting. And it just made my heart explode.
That was it.
And so after that, like I started to talk to them a bit more about Disney English and Shania specifically. And it just encouraged me to say, you know what, why not China? Why not at least apply? Mm-hmm. If I don't get it, fine. Mm-hmm. But let's see. So I didn't tell anybody, did not tell my parents, did not tell family members, just went online one day, went to search Disney English jobs, right. Applied to go to Shanghai and got an email. I was like, all right, you have an interview. I'm like,
wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, all right. No problem.
And that started the process. And I don't remember if I told my parents before or after the interview. I think I told them after, and maybe mommy remembers, I'm not sure. But like I had the interview and it was interesting. It wasn't over Zoom. I think it was over another platform. But had the virtual interview and, like we talked and she was like, I mean, I think you would be a good fit and we probably won't send you to Shanghai. We'll send you to Beijing. So I said, okay, I don't know the difference between the two. So you do whatever you want, sis. Yeah. So finally told my parents and I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to China.
What?
And I'm sure they were like, I'm sorry. the Chinese food restaurant, like bring me back something. Like, what do you mean you going to a whole next country? Let's talk about it. What was that like?
People who know Shannon skip over that the whole drama part. Shannon bless Shannon's parents, they have their careers. Shannon's like the little baby.
Jeez,
baby of everybody.
Okay.
So, Shannon they get leave free for going to farms and also school. Going to Hampton, okay, going to Hampton, come back.
What's coming back? Right.
China just a little bit further than Hampton. Just a little bit further than Hampton.
Just a smidge. A little bit.
So how your mom particularly hit your dogs?
How did your village respond?
So my father was excited. When I told him, he's like, oh, oh.
All right.
I was like, let's calm down. I'm not going tomorrow. I still have some stuff to do. My mother was like, are you sure? This is a thing you want to do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, because she knows me, right? I can be impulsive. I can just sort of up and decide, like, I want to do this thing. And once I put my mind to wanting to do something, I go ahead, because I'm pretty sure that's how I got to Hampton and then was there for 6 years.
Right.
And so, you know, showed her the contract information, because anytime I get like a contract, anytime I get like information, I just send it to my mother. Like, here you go, take a look. So sent her all of the information that they sent me. And I'm like, it's only a year and change. It was only like 14 or 15 months, you know, like, I'll be right back next. Well, I would have left.
That's the dream you sold us as well.
Yes.
It's a dream I sold myself, guys. Okay. My plan was I was going to come here, teach for a year and change, maybe get to travel around Asia a bit, and then come back home and move on to another adventure. Like, I had Dubai in my sights. Like, I would have just moved on to another country.
Hold on. Before you go, Ebony says, I can imagine Uncle Hookie's reaction. And Shannon Evans says, hi, Dr. Baby. Yes, I was excited.
Hi, Daddy. Hi, Daddy. Hi, Mommy.
I remember when you came home to, I think, Christmas, and you thought nuts about it, when the opportunity was still the opportunity. You more sure than not sure. I remember you started your reservations about it, and we said the same thing. Like your dad was saying, if it makes you happy, if you think that's the best for you, do what's best for you. The worst case scenario, you have experience in a different country, you come back.
And then,
if that's the best, I remember you said hitting the hesitant. I'm sure we can talk about it, but you said I can put a pause and studies and whatnot. And look at it. You gotta do the things that makes the best for you. And I know you skip over Hampton, but Hampton was fun too. The whole thing is just
Beijing, but we on Beijing.
But we gotta come back to Hampton.
But we on Beijing. Go ahead.
We can come back to Hampton. But yes, and that was another concern, because, you know, I had started working on my PhD in 2014, and that was a difficult journey. Like, I will not sugarcoat it. Anybody who asked me about this, it was a hard journey. It contained some of the most depressing nights of my entire life. And
that's why the doctors look at you like that at the hospital. Like,
I think most that's why the people who aren't medical doctors, you starting glasses, you try to disrespect their doctor.
I had to study to look at you.
Bro, don't mind me, I'm not a medical doctor, but I work hard for this doctor.
I had to stay up
definitely
study
definitely had to work hard for
this. How dogs want to do this is a doctor, and I work hard for this doctor.
Listen, this a real thing. And so I think Mummy's biggest concern was, or one of her bigger concerns was, because here it is, you know, like, I'm in dissertation phase, and I'm about to just go off to a new country, and she's just like, you're not going to work. And I think part of it for me was like, man, it's gonna feel good to not be surrounded by all of these reminders that I'm not done. Because there was a point where everybody was just asking, you know, like, how's it going? When are you gonna be finished? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I know that a lot of you are well-intentioned. However, if you could just stop asking me, that would be fantastic. Like, please leave me alone.
That would be great.
It would be. So I'm like, just the thought of going to a new country where nobody knows me, nobody knows that I'm working on my PhD, so nobody is going to ask me about it. Just felt really good. And so I told, you know, I'm going to work. I will work on it. It obviously will be a bit more difficult, but I'm already doing distance learning anyway. So why not increase the distance? So
Sorry. It's like
Come on, Miles.
that's my spark. You put it in. Why not?
Y'all can see why.
Rodney,
Rodney,
Rodney, I'm trying to have a serious conversation.
That's hilarious. Because now you put it. Just argue everyone. Sorry, continue.
During this last break, Zakia says, "Hi, Shannon." And Lydia says,
Hi,
Lydia says, "Hi,
What's-
Shannon. We love you. You looking great." Yes, girl, you are. Go ahead.
Thank you.
So you got to China. You got to
You added the distance
Yes.
feeling.
Yes. And I was supposed to leave, I think, February of 2017. And then I asked them to push my date back. Not February 2017, February 2018. And I asked them to push my date back a bit so I could try to get a bit more work done. And so they pushed it back to June, I think.
Okay.
And then as we were nearing June, they were like, hey, we have to push you back another month. And so I'm like, okay. So I had already stopped working. Like I stopped working in May to try to work on packing up everything, like packing up my apartment, and also dedicate a bit more time to studying. And so when they were like, yeah, so not in June, but July. I'm like,
I'm missing my paycheck, bro.
right, like this is a whole extra month that I have to live.
And I'm hot.
So I'm like,
I don't know where the plates are no more. Like,
mommy, can you help me out? She's like, fine. So I stayed for another month, and then finally, end of July, went to the airport, and it was a very surreal experience. And so my mother, father, grandmother were with me. My brother came to see me off with my nephews. One of my non-biological sisters, y'all know a lot about those, and my nieces came to see me off, and I was already emotional. I have 1,000 bags because anybody who knows me knows that I do not pack light. And so I'm moving to a new country. I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And so mommy was annoyed with me because I think I had like 5 bags. She's like, where you going with all these? What you doing? Like, I'm moving. She's like, you're going to China? You can buy these things in China? I'm like, all right, that's what we think. We don't know yet. So, just in case.
I mean, no.
So I think maybe one of my bags, it was going to cost, I don't know, maybe $200 to check it as like excess. And so there was somebody else. There was somebody else who was going on because I did not take, my tickets were split. So my first ticket was to Florida, I think. And so there was somebody else also going to Florida.
Oh, your mom is everything's made in China.
All right.
Jokes today. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. Somebody else on my flight agreed to take the excess bag, and we just paid I think it was like $25 instead. So that was one thing that made me emotional.
Wonderful.
Then I'm leaving my family. No, just to the States, because I was gonna have to check in again once I got to the States. And so that made me emotional. Leaving my family made me emotional. And so, I'm hugging everybody and I'm trying to hold back the tears, and I go through security and I'm sniffling. I get a hot dog and like a gombe punch because I'm like, this is the last time I'm gonna have gombe punch for who knows how long, right? And so I get these things, and sitting down in the little cafe, I open up my backpack, and my mother, being the person that she is, has put a letter in my backpack. And I start reading it. I want to cry now. I start reading it and I'm like, And then my non-biological sister, she had given me a card and it was just like, I love you so much. I'm gonna miss you so much. And I'm just like
The most emotional trip ever.
and I'm like, oh Jesus, am I making the right decision? Should I just go back now?
Imagine the people in like in the airport looking at her like,
Man, what's that on? I don't need that on.
Here I'm trying to eat a hot dog, and I'm just like, I could not.
So maybe she's a vegan and she don't like to eat meat or something. I don't know.
was it the pepper one?
Is that a soda? Is that a Bahamian soda? I don't need that soda. I mean, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna get a Coke.
I honestly, y'all, like, I could not get through either of the cards without crying. And I just got a tattoo on my foot, like maybe a week or two before, with my mother, father, and grandmother's initials in it.
Oh, nice.
So it's all the feels. And so I go to the States, and I got another bag so I could jam 2 bags into one, so I wouldn't have that issue again. And it was from Florida to Dallas, and then Dallas to Beijing. And so I'm on the plane leaving from Dallas to go to Beijing. And as we're lifting off, it's just like, this is it. There's no turning back now. Like this is it. Yeah. And that was as scary as it was. I was so proud of myself for being able to do something that I wanted to do, no matter what anybody else said, no matter any other, like any other concerns that anybody brought up. It was just, I need to do this. Because I spent my whole life making sure that all of the things I did, were pleasing to other people. I spent my whole life just making sure that I was always meeting somebody else's mark. And I just it was like, I'm almost 30 and this is what I've done with my life. I want to do more. And so going to Beijing was like a life-changing, life-turning point for me. And got there, called, I'm like, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm ready to go. Was ready to pass out, but it was only maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So got to my hotel, like met up with some other people that came. So it's me, then 3 other girls. One of them was going to another city, but she had to do training in Beijing first. So the 4 of us together formed what's called my onboarding group. So the 4 of us were in training together, and 2 of them were other Black girls from, one was from Philadelphia, so shout out to Alex and PA, and one is from Texas, so shout out to Monet, and together we were the brown girls in Beijing. So we ended up, initially, I wanted to be in an apartment by myself because y'all know how I am.
Yes.
And so I said I would, when we were talking about getting a place, I said that, you know what, for now, I will do this because I know my parents would feel a lot better if I were with somebody, at least at the beginning. So the 3 of us got an apartment together, and really we did so many things together, just exploring Beijing together, and just being able to, for me, in some ways, I anticipated that they would not necessarily, like, people here would not necessarily behave in the way that I'm used to. So there were some things that you would see, and we just sort of developed the attitude like, yeah, this is China. That's China. So when you see just walking down the street and all you hear is and somebody's just hawking up spitting on the ground, that's China. That is the thing that happens all the time. What? And so you just get used to it. Like I am, even now when I hear the sound, it's not as grating as it was before because you're just used to it. Oh, please don't.
I mean,
but no, like even like you want to run outside, don't put on something, please. There was, I think, on my ride to the hotel, the cars were like about this close to one another.
No.
What?
Yes, and I'm in the back seat of the car. And honestly, if I had rolled down my window, I could touch the car. Like I could touch the window of the car next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is how I die. I came all the way to Beijing. And this is how it ends.
So you can't even be in the different sense. If you try to curse somebody out, they can hawk and spit right into you.
Really and truly.
I mean, if that was their goal, yes. It could happen. But to be fair, we were in the outskirts of the city, to be fair.
Catherine is telling you hello, and Ebony is also telling you good for you, Shannon. Deniska says you're truly good friends because she is funny. Shannon, you're hilarious, by the
way. Y'all too. I think we should take this thing on the road.
Oh, okay.
Just not your road, just
no, yeah, let's place on the road, you know.
Our road,
listen. I have a bike now. You have a bike? Like an e-bike, a scooter.
Okay. Yeah.
Y'all, I mean, zip through the city. But it is actually insane. So I don't know if you got the same advice when you started to learn how to drive in Nassau, but like for me, mommy, daddy, and whoever else would say like you have to drive for everybody else on the road.
Yeah.
So it's not you not just driving for you, and it is exponentially multiplied in China, in Beijing, because like coming from the airport, that's sort of the outskirts, and that's 1,000 lanes trying to merge into like 4 on the highway. Like that's how it feels. But in the city, you have pretty good sized roads, and I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 lanes across, just like on a regular road.
Yeah.
On one side, right? So it's pretty good size. Mm-hmm. But you still have people who you drive on the right side of the road in Beijing, and I have witnessed, and I have also been in the car when somebody in the rightmost lane makes a U-turn. Yeah, so the same confusion and quick maths is happening in your head. Imagine being in a car that is in the rightmost lane, taking a left across the pedestrian in front of all these cars that's waiting on the stoplight to make a U-turn. So crossing 4 or 5 lanes.
People trying to kill themselves often there, like it's a suicide rate high over there. That's
clearly. And I must have signed, because so instead of Ubers, we have DDs. DD, D-I-D-I.
DDs.
And
and I... Didi, come here. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, if DDs pick you up, then yeah, same thing. So like DDs, I use DDs to get, especially now, I don't take the subway as much. So I use DDs to get pretty much anywhere because of where I live. And which was one of the reasons why I got my bike. Just the bike is a bit quicker because of traffic. Okay. So the traffic on the road is super thick in the mornings when I'm going to school. My school is an international school, and it's a big school. So there's a stretch of road that really, as soon as you turn onto it, everybody, especially in like the rightmost lane, is going to my school. So it could be blocked up for a while. And so I was like, you know what? I'm getting a bike. No, we have, to give you a general idea, in the primary school, in grade 6 specifically of the international school, My class is grade 6, class 13, which means there are 12 other grade 6 classes, but only four of them are in the international school. So we have 2 other schools like on our campus. You have the national school and then the Cardin school. It is a very big campus. We have a zoo.
Your school has a zoo.
We have
not just a
yes.
rock problem, like an actual zoo.
No. A whole zoo. It has the word zoo as you walk in. We have pheasants, golden and silver.
Pheasants.
No.
We have chickens. We have llamas. We have a pony.
Why?
No.
We have pot cakes.
Don't know.
We have like large.
We have pot cakes too, though. We have a little dog village.
Sorry?
We have a little dog village.
A dog village.
Dog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like they have little houses.
Wow.
Like
what?
And we have a replica of the Great Wall, just obviously scaled down.
Just in the school?
A replica of the Summer Palace. Yep.
Why?
My school is Hogwarts / Narnia.
All in one.
Yes.
That is crazy. So on campus, I don't even imagine the square footage in campus. How many students just in total for all the schools, or just?
I wish that I could tell you. For my class, the normal average is about 24 students per class. So let's call it maybe 100 students that would have been in the grade 6 class for the international school, because we only have 4 classes. Other grades have 5 classes, but their average number of kids is more towards 30.
So
I'm not
going
to try to do the math.
School. Your grade 6 is essentially just a school
by itself. Yeah.
That's one of the medium-sized schools.
When I looked at, I wish y'all could see. Maybe one day I'll take a picture because like we have flag raising ceremony when we have the fire drill and all of the primary school comes out onto the field.
Yeah.
It looks like multiple schools.
Wow.
All of these children, it is insane. It's so much.
That's so. Someone out there in this class said before we get even further, I remember we had a situation, but you can share. How did you manage with the air pollution?
So, my first year, it was pretty bad. And I remembered, so this is not my first time in China. I came to China something like 11, 12 years ago, maybe, just on a 2-week trip. And the pollution was really bad then, but I didn't know very much about it to be able to safeguard myself. I only remember not seeing the sun for just about the entire trip until like the last day. Was when I actually saw the sun, actually saw the sky. That's the smog in the sky.
Okay.
Yes. And so my first year, it was really bad. So the same masks that you wear for COVID prevention, basically were the masks we were wearing to protect us against pollution and against the particles in the air. Because there are sometimes you'd look outside, at home, you look outside, you see the clouds a little gray, the sky's a little gray, and that's cold, or like rain is coming.
Yeah.
Here, it could be cold, it could be rain, or it could be pollution. So like I have an app to check the air quality, to see what we looking like. And so there are sometimes like 50 is a really good day. It's a beautiful day, virtually no smog, 50.
50 degrees?
100, no, the AQI index, so the air quality index.
Wow.
100 to 150 is, like, it's some smog in there. Like, it's not serious, but, there's some things there. And then when you get like upwards of 200, it's like, keep yourself covered, protect yourself. If you get upwards of 300, just please keep yourself covered. And so my first year, it was bad. Like, I think there was maybe once, if I can remember, where it got so bad, like we got a message to just like protect yourself, keep yourself protected. Because sometimes you can't, if you're like with me, sometimes I just sort of walk out of my house and I'm not super aware of maybe, no, it's not like really, really bad, but it's bad enough. And I'm just not like super aware. And so I have to remind myself to like check the AQI or to just make sure I have my mask with me wherever I go so I can just quickly pop it on. But there are other times when it is so bad, you can just sort of taste it in the air. Or it just sort of like when you're breathing in, it just
heavy on your chest.
It's like a weight.
So
but I
both. That's why they spit so much because of that.
Sure.
We're trying to make an excuse for it.
If you need a reason, yeah.
While we're laughing, Shannon says, hey, and Zakia says, this is so interesting. Janissa says, so now, how are you managing with COVID added to the air pollution? And I think we've talked about it before because I think y'all are at some management level now, right?
Yes. And honestly, with COVID, I definitely forgot that air pollution was a thing. And I mean, like for us, we are fairly used to like wearing masks and stuff just for air pollution. And so having to do it for COVID wasn't too much of a jump. It's just now like having to wear it all the time, I think was the hard part, especially during the summer months. So in the beginning, so COVID hit us in January.
Yeah.
I was in the Philippines when it really like broke.
I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. Black girls travel. I was just in the Philippines.
Just so happened to skip over the Philippines.
No, okay, all right. Let's calm down. Everybody relax. Thank you.
We've seen the Pinewood over here.
That's the only thing we got over here. I'm sorry.
The Philippines.
Okay.
Chinese New Year happened. So Chinese New Year is sort of a fluid holiday. It's based on the lunar calendar. And so it doesn't happen exactly the same date every year, but it happens sort of around the same time. So between January and February. And we all know January 16th is a thing. Yeah. And so Chinese New Year happened, I think, the week after my birthday. And so like, let's go to the Philippines. It was either like Philippines or Thailand or Bali, I think. So let's go to the Philippines. And I didn't need a visa to go. I could just up and go. So let's go. And so we went for maybe about 4 or 5 days. It was really nice. Just explored Manila, one of the main cities. I think it's the capital city, actually. So it's very, very city-like. And then went to Cebu, which is also city-like, but it's closer to the beach. So went to the beach and tried some street food. So it was really a nice trip. And when we were coming back, that's when we started to hear, so it was just myself and Monet. And so that's when we're starting to hear like, something is happening in Beijing. And we're like, are we gonna be able to get back? Like, do we need to make plans or something? So like, let's try and let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. And so in the airport in the Philippines, we saw somebody selling masks. And so we're like, let's get some just in case, because we didn't have any of our own. So we got masks to travel in and went through from the Philippines to Macau and then from Macau to Beijing. And from the Philippines to Macau, we were maybe one of the only people with masks on. But once we got to Macau, everybody had masks on.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this is a thing. So after that, on our flight to Beijing, everybody with masks on, and we get to Beijing, everybody's masked up. And it's like, okay, like we could not necessarily process just what was happening because we hadn't been there. And it's not like we've been listening to the news or anything. Literally, I think we saw like a statement and that was our information before we got back to Beijing.
Wow.
And so once we got here, my community, my apartment complex, had not started like precautionary measures yet. But within a few days, they were like, all right, anybody getting deliveries, they're not coming to your door anymore. You got to come to the gate to pick it up.
Okay.
Cool. When you come home, they check your temperature before you can come into the community. Or like as soon as you come in, they check your temperature. And so those were measures that they put in place just like within a few days of me coming back home.
Wow, they moved quickly then.
Very quickly. And I came in at the right time.
Must be nice. Say no more.
Anyway, I came back at just the right time because I did not have to quarantine. So I did not have to do a mandatory quarantine. So anybody who came back, maybe, I think like just after February started, like anybody who came back into Beijing just after February started, I think I had to undergo the 2 weeks. But for me, I came back on the 27th. And so I didn't have to do the 2 weeks, but I mean, with stuff closing down, there wasn't really anywhere to go anyway. Yeah. So I did just spend most of my days at home. And so that started what we were hoping was going to be over in like a month or two. That started this.
We all hope.
Tell you?
Oh
my gosh.
You know, I remember when they first off 2 weeks. I didn't do 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks on.
What was vacation?
It's okay. They say May. It's May. May so far. Now it's November.
Hey.
Now it's November.
Okay.
It's 2021. It's again. They're hoping by 2021.
Santa got a mask on, okay?
Like Santa's quarantine.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so so it's all settled in. What do you think after the whole COVID thing gets leveled out? Like what's your next plans? What do you see happening next for you?
Right now, I think somebody asked me about this the other night. You're like, how long do I plan to stay in Beijing? And honestly, and this is another thing I do, I could see myself staying here for a while, especially if COVID does, finally release his or her grip on the world. And I can travel a bit more. Like I'd be free to travel a bit more because when I worked for Disney is a training center. So we're open all year round. And we're open weekends and evenings. And so my days off were Wednesday and Thursday. I would work Friday through Tuesday. And I would get my month off. Like I think I got to see y'all when I came home last year around this time. Right. So that was my, what we call a contract break, because I signed another contract. So that was my break in between my month break. But now I'm working a job where, I work Monday through Friday. So I have the weekends off. And I also have my winter holiday during the Chinese New Year break. And then I also have a summer holiday. So I have like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, I can't remember, during the summer. And so I now have the time to travel. Yeah. And so if I could be able to do that, and now I'm making a bit more, so I can put more money aside for traveling. Girl,
money.
Hey, it's not that much more though. But, but and that was another dream of mine, to be able to be in a position where I did not have to depend on my parents to help me with supplementing my income. Like my paycheck covers my rent, my utilities, covers my Taobao shopping habit. Because Taobao is like the Chinese version of Amazon.
I like
that. Yeah, it is a problem. So when my mother said everything is made in China, I am purchasing all the things that are made in China, just buying them up. I have a problem.
It's a camera. It's great. That's me. We didn't
Rodney.
realize that we and everybody watching it.
Oh, okay, speaking of everybody else, Shannon Evans says, only John knows. Estelle Evans says, adulting, and Lisa says, take it. That's
So
it.
the great thing,
Prosperity.
we're so happy for you, Sean. It's a project that you get to now give that particular because you worked your butt off to get to this. I mean, that's an understatement. Just to get to this point now, you get to now do the next chapter in your life and really experience things. And I know travel is one of those things that everybody would recommend to do,
Yeah.
seeing the world and seeing that different side of the world. I mean, you're on a fully different side of the world now beyond where we were. What are some of the things that you were like just places you recommend to go or things you recommend to do or like must see sites that you've seen thus far?
And then some tips for persons who are thinking of going abroad after that.
So before I go into that, you talking about being on the other side of the world, I started, so we have a social studies component to our English lessons when we teach the kids, because our kids also go to America for a semester, or not a semester, not like a whole semester, but a couple of months, maybe about 3 months. They do visit America, I think in 5th grade. And so we started to teach them social studies just so they could be a bit more equipped. And I had a little globe. I bought the globe on Taobao.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know why I thought that the globe might be in English. It was not. Wow. So it's, of course, in Chinese. I don't know. So I took it out of the box. It was like, it's a good thing I know where places are. So I'm like, ooh, Bahama. That's me. All right. So I show the kids. I show my kids. I'm like, look, this is where Dr. E is from, Bahama. Of course, it's so tiny. The globe is only about this big. Yeah. And then literally on the other side of the globe, I'm like, this is where we are now, guys. This is how far away from home I am. And that was like, I've never looked at it like this before. Like, we say I'm on the other side of the world, but I really am.
Anyway, like it's the cartoon is show the other side, or you dig down and you come up. I wrong dig down to China. You come up. It's 7 p.m. here. It's 7 a.m.
over there. So again, thank you.
No.
It
was 8. So I did get an extra hour because we don't fall back. We don't change time.
Oh, good. I was so concerned. Okay.
That's literally on the other side. So
for you, I will get up. That's not a problem. For you, I will get up.
How did you say? Okay, hold on, wait. Yeah. Okay.
So and I was just saying, what tips do you give somebody who wants to travel?
Who thinks about living abroad?
The first tip is just do it. Don't, like the reservations and stuff like that you have, just do it. If you are still concerned, maybe don't commit to like a year, like go with the intention of trying it out first for a couple of months and see if you like it. Second, especially for like with China, and it is maybe a bit cliche, but unless you are a freelancer, unless you are, somebody who is like a digital nomad who just is used to just working from home, go for the English teaching jobs. Go for, especially if you can find a job that will, pay for your TEFL certificate. So you're teaching English as a foreign language certificate. So that's an easy in, or easy enough in, because you still have to have a degree. So it's an easy enough in to just be able to explore a place. And even though the hours are odd, it does allow you to explore. Like for me, it allowed me to explore Beijing on a Wednesday and Thursday, where most people are at work, where kids are in school. And so make no mistake, there are millions of people that live in this country and in the city. So there are still a lot of people, and there are people who visit Beijing from other cities in China. So there's still going to be a lot of people, but it is a little bit easier, to go and visit the Great Wall just on a weekday, or to visit the Summer Palace, to visit those places that you've seen in books and in magazines and on TV. And it is fairly cheap to be able to get around. A bus ride from where I lived in another town within the city called Tongzhou.
Okay.
And from Tongzhou to Shuangjing, where I worked.
You know the difference.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes. Was on a good day with like a clear day, no traffic, was about a 35-minute drive.
Okay.
By subway towards the end, because they opened up a new subway, or they extended the subway line to where I lived. But I was living outside of the city, or outside of the city proper. By subway, it ended up being, I think, from door to door, like an hour. So like walking to the bus, getting onto the subway, getting off of the subway, and getting to work. It took me about an hour. And then by bus, taking a longer bus and the shorter subway, took me about maybe an hour 15. But that bus that took about 50 minutes to ride cost me 250 RMB, like instead of $2.50, 250 RMB, if that makes sense. So 2.50 RMB.
Yeah.
7 RMB make $1.
What?
Oh, I ain't going over there to go ball out. I'm sorry.
That's why you want to talk about now.
That's a part of the problem. So we all understand now.
That's to talk about. I have a question before.
Yeah, go.
After S11. So we got two. How did you get into the international school? S11.
S11 wants to know, how did you make that connection?
As if she doesn't know. But I understand, Steve. I understand your rationale, mommy. So after COVID, because of COVID, we moved from being a traditional training center where our kids came to us to being a virtual training center. And that was hard because Disney English is very hands-on, very experiential. And so, we always had what we call realia. So like the manipulatives that we would have with the kids. So they got a better understanding of what it was like to live in like an English world. And so we went from having 2-hour lessons in person to 20-minute lessons online. Whoa. And that was a jump. I was miserable. So I definitely sympathize with all of the educators, especially at home, who are now teaching virtual lessons. Like I fully understand you, because instead of having, 3 classes on a long day, I would have, I don't know, maybe 8 classes. Then now, like they're 20-minute classes now. And so we did that for a couple of months, and we were always hoping that things would get better. Just always hoping that, we'd be able to see our kids again. Because of the structure, the way that we were doing it, we weren't necessarily teaching our kids anymore. So I was just teaching a particular like level or a particular age group. And if my kids didn't fall in that level, which most weeks they didn't, because I was given our center was given the youngest or second youngest set, and my kids had already passed that phase. And so if the kids were not in that age level, they could not choose your class. And that was, it was hard. Yeah, it was hard. And so, the last time I saw my kids was in January, and I don't even get to teach them now. And so that it did, I think it just made the journey a bit more difficult. And so we got this email. Well, no, my friends and I are sitting at dinner just on a Sunday night, chilling. And we get a text from our boss in our group chat. It's like, don't forget the call tomorrow. So we all looking at each other like, What call? You. Uh-huh. So then I see I have an email, and literally the email had come maybe like 2 or 3 minutes before
they tried
her
to
text.
slide it in, okay? Made us seem fool.
So the email said like, hey everyone, we have a call tomorrow. Here's the link or whatever. And so we're all wondering like, what is this call about? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're about to lose our jobs.
Oh, man.
So we're trying to, figure out like what's gonna happen on this call. Like, no, they're about to tell us like we're all going back, because we had been making plans to go back. Like Disney was on it, right? So as soon as things seemed like they were lightening up, great. Yeah. So in like 2 weeks, we plan to be back in the center. And then in 3 weeks, we plan to have the kids back in the center. Like we had a plan. Yeah. And if something came along to adjust the plan, they adjusted the plan and we were on it. Oh. And so when this came, we were stopped. When this came and we
it sounds so fried. You might say that, man.
Say it again. It sounds so foreign.
I felt this if you said that, man. I totally see it. Those string of words. So
translate that for
us.
They
reacted so quickly. They were on it. They what? I don't know. Literally the other side of the road. But that's it must be this.
Sorry, go ahead.
Y'all stop. Y'all stop.
It must be this.
Anyway, this was in June. And so the next day, we're all texting each other, and it's just like this anxiety of what is going to happen, because we have all of these theories that we've posited, and got onto the call. And I forget his name, but he came on and he's just talking, about how it's been such a great adventure, blah, 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 because Disney English had been open for, I think this was our 12th year, because when I came, it was our 10th. We just celebrated our 10th year. And so like, we've been such a staple, in the Chinese community. And then all I heard was, unfortunately, we will not be reopening our centers. And I blocked out everything else after that. Immediately, I get on the phone. I send a message to my parents, because this happened, I think, around 11, maybe. So it would have been 11 at night for them. And I send them a voice note. I'm like, hey guys, I just lost my job. Okay, bye.
You don't say hey guys with that one. Like, you're just like,
Wow.
I have no other information. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just letting you know. So just in case I'm a little bit broke, you understand why. Like, I just lost my job. So, and I
want it now.
No, honestly.
I guess it's I need to clear just
listen.
My big motion.
I will say though, that we were blessed to be, at least those of us who were still in China, we were blessed enough to be taken care of by the company. And so they never left us, high and dry. And I mean, we were blessed to be working for a company that could afford to do that, because not every company is in that position. And so like just counting those little blessings, and even though my journey with Disney ended, I wasn't super sad. Mm-hmm. It was sad that it was ending, but I had a good run. And so that opened the door to now going to an international school. Wow. And they were on it. Good. And on LinkedIn,
shout out to
all
LinkedIn.
of these.
I love LinkedIn.
No, shout out to LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn.
All of these headhunters reaching out to basically all Disney English employees that were still in China. Wow. Like, I don't know if they put a little search on, but just reaching out like, all right, we need people. So, come through. I
love it.
2 of my friends had interviews set for that week, maybe even like the next day. That's how quickly they had messages waiting in their inbox. And I'm like, my LinkedIn profile ain't even like set up all the way. Like, okay, let me fix it. Yeah. And so one of the guys, Daniel. So let me shout out my Beijing Friends Forever crew. And so you have Sandra, who's my old boss. So shout out to Sandra. And then you have Kaylee, my best friend in China. So shout out to Kaylee. And then you have Megan and Daniel and Ben. So we're the, I don't know, Super
now?
Six.
Super Six. Okay.
Well, our group chat is called Beijing Friends Forever.
I'm mad we don't have a group chat. We have a group chat? We don't have a group chat, right?
And
because when I talk to one of y'all, it's like talking to both of y'all. Because you are one in the spirit.
Don't bring the spirit in this.
You're one in the Lord.
Anyway. While we laugh,
so
last break,
shout out to them.
Sarah saying, Shannon Bubble, and Jackie saying, hello, Dr. Shannon Evans. So proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Bet you have a good chat with them too. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Emotional. So shout out to them. Daniel, he was telling us about the school that he had gotten interviewed by or was getting an interview with. And I had an interview set up with another international school. And then I had an interview with I think a training center, but I didn't really want to work in a training center anymore. And so I was just more inclined towards international schools. And so Daniel was like, like this school sounds really good. Do you want me to give your information to the recruiter? So I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. It has a zoo. It has monkeys. Let's do it. Let's see what's going on. Listen, so she contacted me and, I told her, because you have to send in like a video, you have to send in some information and what your requirements are. And so I sent all of that to her. And she said, okay, let me check. I'll get back to you. She comes back, it's like, they want to interview you. Bet. So I had the interview with Vice Principal Leo. So shout out to him. He is a Chinese man, but so nice, so cool. So we had a video call and, he was telling me about the school and just asking me about my beliefs when it comes to education and just the way that I train, the way that I teach, especially when it comes to teaching English. And so he, towards the end was just like, I think that you'd be a good fit for the school. Like you'll hear from me. I'll send you what the contract would look like, and I'll send you some information. All right, cool. And so he said, I'll send this by tomorrow. Okay. And of course, tomorrow came and I didn't see anything. And I'm like,
I was
They don't want me no more.
Okay. Right, like I thought it went well because I even asked him. I had on my tips, and so I was like, "This is how my nails look." I'm like, "My sides are shaved. I have a mohawk. Like, is this okay?" Yeah. Because like this color with Disney, because Disney is maintaining a particular image, it's not okay. And so I need to know, like, is this okay before I come to your school? And he's like, I mean, it's fine, as long as the kids can continue to learn English and they're not super distracted. So I'm like, bet, let's do it. And I reached out to the recruiter and I'm like, hi. He said he would message me. He has not. Is everything okay? Yeah. And she's like, please be patient. I'm sure that he will, if that's what he said. And then maybe the next day, she said, hey, Shannon, so they want to send you an offer. What's your email address? What email address do you want them to send it to? So I'm like, so they sent me the offer, the contract.
Yeah.
And I printed it out. And I promised y'all before I even read it, I signed it. And then I was like,
that at home. Please,
no, don't. So yeah,
but
don't
we
do
happy
that.
for her, but
so wait, I did read it after signing it. So I did not send it off without reading it. So I did read it.
Like, hold on, wait.
So I read through everything. I sent it, of course, to my parents, and I'm like, y'all read through it and let me know. So I read through everything, and I read through everything twice to make sure I didn't miss anything, and it looked like a pretty decent contract. And so I scanned it and sent it back signed, and I'm like, yes, I will take this job. And so it has been, I've enjoyed the school. with every school or with every organization, there's a culture.
Yeah.
And so making sure that I do not necessarily assimilate, but at the very least, mesh with the culture, so that, you know, I can make sure that my kids are true high-Y students. So the school is called Beijing Haidian Foreign Languages School. And I think our nickname for the school is High-Y. So we want to make sure that our kids are true High-Y students. So that, I think, is just my biggest challenge, because I do like a little bit of chaos. Like, you know, I'm a bit chaotic. And so I have to make sure that my kids are quiet, and, you know, make sure they raise their hands before they speak. And I'm just like, I like having conversations. I like when my kids are excited to talk to me about things, when they relate what we're learning to what they've seen before, or what they've learned before, when they're building that knowledge or building on that knowledge. And so I enjoy it. I'm like, not everybody is a fan of this. So gotta make sure that, you know, I keep that balance. But other than that, you know, it's been a good ride. I get to take a nap from 1 to 2, 1 to 1:50. Because there is a designated, like during our lunch break, a lot of the co-teachers take a rest. Our Chinese co-teachers, they take a rest. And so I've seen that our foreign teachers are able to as well. And I'm like, oh, like this is a legit thing. Like we have desk pillows. Some of them will break out cots, actual cots.
Wow.
Stretch them out, pillow and blanket.
We sleep to work here too, just it's frowned upon.
I mean, you know, you get called and they tell,
Yeah, right up to sleep.
go ahead, log off on me.
Yeah, just.
Don't worry about it.
As long
Talking about they praying. You ain't praying. You sleeping.
As long as you are like up and alert by like 1:50, you know, you're ready for the afternoon, you're good to go. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be at the school. And, you know, a few, like with the vice principal, with us talking, and he's like, I'm looking for people who are going to be here long term. And I'm like, look, if y'all are going to keep me, I'll stay. That's no problem. So, yeah.
So, we have a Shanta in the comments saying, congratulations, Dr. Evans. Bloom where you are planted, and I love that. Okay, and of course, your mom will say amen. So, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we wrap
up? We did not get to talk about Hampton, so maybe another time. But Hampton was a really great opportunity as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Hampton was that was a lifetime. That was a lifetime. Yeah, so that was a really great opportunity too. Honestly, my biggest, the thing that I hope anybody who's watching this takes away from the conversation, especially those of us who are young adults, if you have the opportunity, take it. You have the chance, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of things that we think are problems, and honestly, super solvable. You know, like it's not as big of a deal as we think. And even with something as big as my PhD, my concern and my family's concern was that I wasn't going to finish, and I did.
Yes.
Even with the time difference, you know, even with when I send an email, I know that my professors aren't going to look at it for another couple of hours. So I'm not going to get a response, maybe not until tomorrow or the next day. Even with all of that, even with not being able to just walk into their office and knock on the door when I had a problem, you know, I still got it done.
Yeah.
And they're just, you don't know what's waiting for you until you go and find out. And there's just so much more. No matter where you are, the world is so much bigger than where you are. So if you have the chance, take it, do it. If there's a thing, go do the thing.
That's it. Go and do the thing. Okay. Yoshan says, very proud of your accomplishments to date, God sister. Okay, you got
yes, it's my God sister.
The whole
They're very
is up in the comments.
that is another thing. I have a very supportive tribe, and y'all know I pick a family wherever I go. Yeah. And so I have family, you know, from my hometown of Freeport. I have family like y'all in Nassau, and I've developed family. Like I have a home church here in Beijing, and I'm on the worship team now. I've just been upgraded to co-lead.
Okay.
And so I have such a strong community wherever I go, and it does make things like this possible because I know that I am supported, and not necessarily just financially, but emotionally. Yeah. I am supported. My decisions to support it.
That's so important. That is super important. So the love is pouring out to you in the comments. Goal Driven says, congratulations, Dr. Shannon. Estelle Evans says,
thanks, Keisha.
That's a brown girl in Beijing. Nikki says, Shannon, is so good to see you, darling. Continue to soar to higher heights. Okay, so this one got
this one.
Okay, good.
So Shannon, when we had rain on rain's 11 now, so 11 years ago, you came to see me out here. Your dad came, your dad brought you.
Yeah.
So you were inside now. Your dad gave me some advice that I very hold there and there to my heart to the day. There's two things he said to me. One thing he taught me about vision. And what he said, he told me to do exercise. He said, close your eyes, imagine Christopher Columbus statue as a goal. He said, okay, now imagine the bridge to Atlantis. He said, now I'll put the Christopher Columbus statue on the bridge to Atlantis. I said, okay, you see, you can see it? He said, now that's the hardest part there. He said, once you can see something, then you just go work backwards to make it happen. Yeah. So from there, he taught me, and the second thing he taught me is to pray over your family. He said, every day he prays over you, and your siblings and your mommy especially. He said, whether he talks to you, whether he texts you, or whether he just imagine you, he prays for you. And this is a prayer he said in the chat now. And the prayer he said, the end of the baby.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace.
So I want to say, I don't think I taught you that since then, but thank you, Shannon, because from then to now, my daughter is 11. I have said that prayer over her, now her brother and her mother every blessed day from 11 years ago. I have not missed a day from that. Because he taught me that I hold on those lessons. So Shannon is like, you are persons like that who pour into you. And then you are such a wonderful person yourself. So like we love you.
Y'all please stop.
No man, you really truly Shannon. You're such a wonderful person. We love you, we support you. Yeah. And I remember we had that conversation and you were like really fighting we should go. And all I remember telling you, Shannon, that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because you deserve to be happy, but you bust your butt so hard, you deserve to be happy. And I remember me telling you, we was like 4 and 6. Me, you, Nadia, Spoonie talking by 4 and 6. This is this one, but you happy, Shannon, do it. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. Yeah. These stuff will get done, but you do your life. If you say, oh, I only do this, I do that, I say, don't mind us. I say, don't mind, I say, Shannon, don't mind us. Your journey different from my journey. I said, don't mind us, and Shannon, you have done wonders. We both know. And more importantly, God knows that this is literally just the beginning. Yeah. This ain't even nowhere close to how you started, but this is only the tip on the iceberg of what's going on. And because you trusted him, and I think, and I know that he's going to reward you because everywhere you go, you seek God over it. That is such a huge thing. No matter where you go, Shannon, every blessed way you go, you find a home church, you are active in the home church, Shannon. That's such a wonderful thing.
And you are loved and well received wherever you go. Wherever you go. So wherever you go, continue to go because God will continue to cover you and bless you and keep you.
So we just need to make you a little emotional now at 9:15 in the morning.
Okay. All right.
So before we go on, shout out to Spooty. Shout out to Kendall. He is definitely one of my best friends, even if he doesn't think that I'm one of his, which he should. Definitely one of my best friends. Anytime that a friend of mine asks me, like, why don't you ever, I don't ever hear you complain. You know, like, I don't ever really hear you get angry. And I'm like, because when I do, I go to my mother and I go to Kendall.
They get all of it to everybody.
Yes. So I text him at whatever hour. I'm like, this happened. And he's super supportive. So shout out to Kendall. He's helped me maintain my sanity from all the way over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love them.
We love
And next thing, so we have the channel, we have done a part 2 because we take too much of your time.
Yes.
We give an hour, but the whole part 2 again, we talk about the Hampton, we talk about COB, which is the next can of worms. Talk
Good
about
Lord.
sorority, all the different stuff, the work you do.
Yes, so we'll go backwards. We'll go backwards.
Yeah. So we really appreciate this. Oh,
So
Lord,
much
the wrap
time.
up.
It's never enough time to Shannon.
It's
But
hard.
it's just a testament to just to say
Who you
how
are
much
and
you
how
value
wonderful
Shannon.
you are.
So we thank you so much, bro.
It was probably at some point. Means I love you. So that's been another episode.
So 5 minutes, a powerful advice. Oh, let's slow back up. The Niska said awesome sauce, beginning with Bahamian pride.
Bahamian pride for you,
And
girl.
Vera said much love, always in the Harvey crew. Ty, when he said powerful advice, your mom said the blessing. And you want me to praise the Lord for you, Rodney, and also for Nadia. Of course, we are one.
Love you, mom.
Charlie is truly one of a kind. That's why she's
Yeah.
always supportive. Yeah. Andrew said, Amen.
Amen.
And then your mom again said, great program and congratulations all around. Thank you all for we love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's been another episode of the Iron Love Podcast. We thank you for tuning in. We've enjoyed having you with us, and so many of you guys have come in to support Shannon, and we thank you for supporting her, and we ask that you continue to support her and pray for her as well. Special thanks, of course, to Shannon, Dr. Shannon A.C. Evans, the woman.
That's me.
She is everything. We appreciate you.
Yes.
You are a dear friend, and of course, you know how much we love you.
Yes,
So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our next Facebook, Instagram, YouTube stream. So this episode is on all streaming platforms.
the audio is on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere.
Yeah. So of course, thank you so much for tuning in. Continue to be safe. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Social distance. Until
Please.
next time.
Do what you're supposed to do. Sorry.
My Lord.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. How do we end it?
Right.
Right.
Just gonna keep holding it.
Wait.